And if you followed me on Instagram, you would know that I showed off this flame effect that I made. It was inspired by another channel, Bobtheodd. I give him full credit for this. I'm just finding other ways to use his technique to enhance our marble figures, basically. So I'm going to teach you how to make this specific one. Alright, before you guys can start posing your figures with this new flame effect, let's get into the materials before we get into the project. Right before I show you guys the materials, I just want to show you a close-up of the painted version that I posted with that picture on Instagram. And I have another one here that is not painted, so this is what it kind of looks like. I know it's kind of hard to see with the white backdrop. Alright, for the materials, you're going to need yellow paint, orange red paint. What I use is holiday red. You're going to need some glue sticks, one skinny stick, some paint brushes. You're going to need a sponge brush, a cheap crappy brush for dry brushing, a multi-tool, a paperclip, and the glue gun that goes along with the glue sticks, of course. And I almost forgot one last thing, Mod Podge. Alright, the first step is to grab your paperclip and basically try to make it as straight as possible. You can use a multi-tool to do this, which I probably do, because you can't get it completely straight just by hand. At least I can't. So sorry if you can't see this, but we're going to try to make it as straight as possible. This is going to be basically the wireframe for our flame effect. So I'm going to try to make this a little bit more straight off camera. Alright guys, I am back. I used my multi-tool to make this as straight as possible. And the next step is I already have my hot glue gun already warmed up. So what we're going to do is take our hot glue gun, and you're going to leave maybe about like half an inch of this paper clip untouched by the hot glue. So we're just going to make a base for it. So I'm just running a bead of hot glue on the paper clip on both sides. I'm getting it fairly covered as best I can. And then another thing that I forgot to mention in the materials, you probably want to get a cup of cold water just so you could dip in your hot glue to make it set faster. So that's all I have in here is some cold water. I'm dipping it in, and then I'm going to take a paper towel and wipe off the water so we can move on to the next step faster. Alright guys, I got a piece of colored black paper on here so you guys can see this better. I realized with the white background and my lights being so bright, you couldn't really see what I was doing. So basically all I did so far was get the hot glue and wrote a bead of hot glue around the whole top part of this. I left about half an inch down here so I could hold on to it. And the next part is we're going to get the hot glue, and basically what I want to do is make a feathering effect, basically. So it's going to be narrow at the bottom and then it's going to get bigger at the end. That's the end goal, to have something narrow from here, and as it goes higher it gets fanned out pretty much. So with this step, you're just going to get some hot glue after this hot original glue was already dried, and we're going to put some hot glue on both sides right here at the bottom. And we're going to do it section by section. And then when it's still hot, I'm going to grab that skinny stick that I told you guys in the materials, and basically all I'm going to do is pat the hot glue and pull it up. Just like this. And this is what's going to cause us to have that flame effect all around this. And basically, the more glue you put in one area to fan out, the wider the flame's going to be in that area. So at the very bottom, we're trying to do as little as possible and just add more glue to the top part, because that's where it's going to really fan out. And then we're just going to move up with the hot glue, put some in this area, and again with the skinny stick, just pull up the hot glue. You want to make sure you put the hot glue as even as possible at first until you get a good base for all the hot glue to stick on. And then you could go back and add more to certain areas, or neglect some areas with hot glue. So I'm just doing this for the whole thing. And like I said, if you want to speed this process up a lot faster, you can have a paper towel and some cold water, and every time you're done patting it down, you could dip it in the cold water and then wipe off the water from the hot glue, because if you leave the water on there and you try to put more hot glue on, it's not going to really stick very well. So again, I'm just finding areas that I've missed and putting hot glue, and I'm just going to pat where I put the hot glue. And one thing I want to mention too, like This is a flame effect tutorial, but if you painted this white and blue, if you have like maybe a Blastoise figure, you could make water jets for him too. So it doesn't only have to be flame effects. I'm going to work on this a little bit more off camera and come back. Alright guys, I finished the detailing work on this piece. The next part, we're basically just going to paint it. And we're going to look over whatever you guys did and make sure there's no strings hanging off, because that's really going to hurt the detail on this. I already prepped my yellow, red, orange, and red paint over here. So basically what we're going to do, the first thing that we're going to do is actually do a yellow wash all over this thing to get in the nooks and crannies, because if we just dry brush this, you're going to see the hot glue in the middle of it. So what I'm going to do is, I have my water over here off camera. I'm going to be dipping my sponge brush into it, taking some of the excess off, and grabbing some of my yellow paint. You really want this super watered down so you could get into all those nooks and crannies. So basically what we're doing is just pushing that watered down yellow paint in there. You want to do this for the whole thing. Make sure you don't miss any spots. Get really far in there. And it's okay if you can see through the hot glue at this point. We're just trying to get inside the crevices of everything. And the really cool part of using that paper clip in this, it makes it bendable and it's more posable. So so you actually have more options to use this in different scenarios. And like I said, you don't have to paint this a flame effect. If you did this with blue and white, you can make a water effect, like a jet stream of some sort. So I'm pretty much going to do a whole wash over this with yellow, let it dry, and then we'll come back to it. Alright, now that we got the yellow wash already on there and dried, we're going to take our regular brush right here, and we're going to grab regular yellow paint that hasn't been watered down. And there's a couple spots on here that you could see through the wash. So I'm just going to hit those spots, make sure those get covered with the yellow. And so if you have any spots like that where you can see through the wash, you just want to go over with the regular yellow paint. And that's just about it for the yellow. Right now we're just going to wait for that last coat of yellow paint to dry, and then we'll be back with the rest of the painting. Alright guys, the yellow paint has completely dried, the wash has completely dried. Now to the last two steps of painting, and then this thing's ready to go and you guys can use it for whatever you guys want. Alright guys, I'm just going to grab my brush that I use for dry brushing and get some red orange paint that we showed in the materials. And I'm going to take most of the paint off the brush, and I'm going to hit the high points on this. Just the high points. You don't want to press it in there. You just want to grab the high points on here. Basically dry brush the whole thing. You don't want to go too heavy with this color. We are going to add some red on here to finish it off, but like I said, you don't want to overdo this color, because then you're going to have to go back over with a yellow wash again to kind of counterbalance this orange. And don't forget to get the very top too. There's tons of detail all over this thing. And then while the paint is still wet with this orange, you're going to want to get the red on your brush. You don't have to clean off your brush at this point. It's going to help blend it everything in. You want to do the same technique for dry brushing. You just put red paint on there and take off most of the paint, and you're just going to get the really high points. You're not going to go over the same high points that you got with the orange. You just want to get the very tips of the highest peaks with this red. And trust me, you don't want to do it overdo it with this red, because it's not going to look right. And basically why we are doing this while the paint's still wet with the orange that we just put on there is it helps it blend in more, so it's not like two different colors just slapped onto each other. You just want to go really subtle with this red, like I said before. What I like about dry brushing is it picks out the details, and it also dries really fast. I hate drying time when I'm painting. That's the worst part about it. And there we go. That's pretty much it finished. It's kind of hard to see with these bright lights. Let me turn one of my lights off, see if I could get the detail a little bit better for you guys. So I don't know if you guys can see that any better with that light off. Here, let's switch lights. Let's turn this one back on and turn off my other light. There we go, that's a lot better. So like I said, we just picked the very, very high points with that red, not overdoing it, and then with that orange, we just dry brush all the high points. Alright, that's going to be it for this video. Also, if you guys want to see a tutorial of me painting this a different way, like I said, it could be a water effect for like maybe a Blastoise or something around those lines. And also, if you guys want to see me use the same technique on different things, like maybe make a wooden beam of a building on fire with this technique, then I'll gladly show you that. So don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and don't forget to hit that sexy subscribe button. I'm going to lightly put it on the tip of my dry brushing brush. Or, that's a weird, okay. So I'm going to... Alright, so I'm just going to grab my dry brush. My dry brushing brush? What? I'm just going to... Okay.